there, welcome to Beyond Sunday at Seymour Heights, a podcast created to go beyond the Sunday service experience, exploring some of the deeper questions of our faith and offering additional content from behind the scenes and from the cutting room floor. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Chad to talk about what it looks like to find community beyond Sunday. So, welcome to the podcast, Chad.
Hey, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so as the community pastor, you oversee community groups or small groups, or as we call them, walk groups. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity for you to talk about how that works. What does that look like?
Yeah, so let's just admit that they have a plethora of names, and so we may call them any one of a dozen of them on here, but we're always alluding to small groups. And what we like to say is that as a church grows larger, the way you keep community and make it feel smaller is to be a part of a small group of 8 to 12 people and as we say, do life together.
Yeah. And just how important that is to have people to live life with. And I know we might get into this further into, as well as how people come to the community, as far as our Seymour community, in different ways. And they may be here with family. They may be here without the support of family. And so doing life together with people, that's this extra family.
Right. And it's so amazing, too, but because people will, I've had this happen. People will ask about small groups before they even visit us on a Sunday because they want to get plugged into community. Or as soon as they visited, they're like, hey, I want to know about small groups. And so puts a little extra pressure on. But it's exciting, too, that people want that community so fast.
Yeah, it's the belonging, right? It's super important. And so I think it's important to find that space. And so I'm glad that people do ask. That's encouraging, too. So as we look at walk groups, could you do a quick breakdown of what that stands for?
Yes. So walk means to worship wholeheartedly, attract others to Jesus, live transformed life, and keep our focus on Jesus.
Awesome.
Thanks for putting me on the spot there, by the way. I'm so glad I remembered that.
I thought, why not put you on the spot?
We didn't cover this in pre-show.
We did not. So great job.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. What does it look like to join a walk group?
Yeah. So, sometimes we have room in our walk groups and we can just place people immediately into those groups.
Again, you said 8 to 12, and so maybe if they're like 6 to 8, you could put a couple more people.
Because if you get beyond that, and we don't count kids in that number because we know that kids are inevitable in some groups. So 8 to 12 adults makes for a great walk group experience. Okay. But when you start getting more than that, then you lose that intimacy. You start to become a small church in essence, and so it's become harder though because we're running out of room in our walk groups, and so we've started a new initiative called Dinner for 8. Right. And the idea behind that is that 8 people, whether it's 4 couples or a combination of couples and individuals, will get together over the course of 4 months, one time each month, and simply to share a meal and have some community and fellowship with one another.
Listen, you all have to eat.
Right. Everybody's got to eat. So,
and how easy that could feel for somebody that may be apprehensive about joining a community group, right? Right. Is that all you're asking for is a commitment of 4 times.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and you rotate. So if you and I were in a group, I would host 1 month, and the next month you would host, and then if Jaden, who's off camera over there, was in our group, he would host the 3rd month. Okay. And so
just go around.
Yeah. What's that?
Then you just go around. That's
go around. Yeah. So everybody takes a turn hosting, and then after those 4 months, and maybe too, even secretly, the hope is people are like, oh, I want more than just 1 a month. There's no rules that say you can't get together more than once a month.
A rule follower,
but
like
we
might say.
We can make you an official walk group if you really like those people you're eating dinner with. And then the cool thing is there's only 8 people, right? So there's room to add some people in that as well.
Yeah. That's even better. So the goal for you, I think, with this initiative is to end into a walk group if you can.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But you might meet these 4 times, and you say, hey, it's not really for me, or maybe not right now, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Right? This is a very low stress.
Right. And another goal of our walk groups too is that, they're going to meet together for a time, like 12 to 18 months, but understanding that, we don't like to use the word divide because that seems like a bad word and negative, but that they're going to multiply. And so that walk group is going to become 2 separate walk groups, so that more people can be a part of the community as we grow as a church,
Right.
And as those needs arise.
And how great that is. You get to 12, get to 14, and you take that group and you have 2 groups now because you've developed leaders.
Right.
And they're a group of 7 or 8 now, right? But they're inviting more people to their group too. So
Yeah, and some walk groups are just full of a bunch of leaders, and so you could have multiple walk groups if they really catch the vision of that. But the thing I caution against is, just because you're not a walk group anymore, just because you and I aren't in a walk group anymore, doesn't mean we can't get together and hang out. Like, we're not bound by the terms of being in a group. It doesn't mean we can hang out or can't hang out together. But if you stay together and you stay closed off and you don't value adding others in, to me that becomes a small clique, not a small walk group, and that's what we really want to avoid.
That's really impactful though, because you don't want to be closed off to new people that come to the church or new people to join the group. So I think it's important. You had said something back there that made me think of maybe what it looks like to become a leader in one of those groups, because I could see somebody, listening and saying, man, I'm okay to like attend a group, but to lead a group, what is...
It can seem pretty intimidating, right?
Right.
But simply think of it more as facilitating. Like, I'm going to open my home up. I'm going to lead the discussion. I put out a walk group discussion guide every week based on whatever sermon is preached that Sunday morning. So there's that tool. So you don't have to come up with your own material. You can if you want. I just attended a walk group this past Monday, and they did their own lesson, and it was all on Bible memorization. And the person who led that wasn't the original leader of the group, but they're going around taking turns.
That's awesome.
Leading in those lessons, and everybody else is being supportive.
Right.
And it's not intimidating because you're in a small group. You're not in front of others. You're not in front of 50, 60 people, even 20 people.
It's a safe place
to
test that out.
Yeah, and they had fun with it. They really got into what the message was of that lesson. And we also have other tools like Right Now Media,
That's
which
a
has
great one.
Tons of small group materials on it, studies on it, and so
some big names are in there. Like you think of Francis Chan, so Andy Stanley, different ones.
Andy Stanley, yep, and that's as simple as, hey, I'm going to host a group at my home, and we're going to play this video, and then I'm going to print out the questions, and we're going to read them.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
It's really not rocket science. The only thing that's rocket science is rocket science, and so
do you think the hardest thing is just getting started?
I think so.
It's just like that first
There's
step
that,
in.
That apprehensiveness of, am I going to like these people, or are they going to like me?
Right.
Or are they going to annoy me? Am I going to annoy them?
Listen, anytime people are gathered, you're guaranteed a few things.
Yeah.
People are difficult. It's okay. It's going to be good. Because do you know what this is about? Is in getting in God's word, right?
It is.
It's where it's at.
It's about community. It's about discipleship. It's about being there for one another.
Yeah. So a couple more questions, because I think as we talk about these walk groups, they get together and I think maybe you've alluded to it a little bit, but is it simply a Bible study?
No.
Okay.
No, because we can do that anywhere.
Right.
This is, as cliche as it sounds, this is doing life together. This is showing up for one another, not just at what group, but, for one another. Like, say one of your members is, having surgery in the hospital, bringing a meal to them afterwards, showing up and praying with them before, being that community
They're
for
the hands
them.
and feet of Jesus in that group. That's awesome.
And how cool is it when a walk group serves together? We have lots of local ministries here in Seymour, like Cross and Livett. Down in Knoxville, there's the Under the Bridge ministry to the homeless community. There's Isaiah 117 House. And so there's lots of opportunities just to get together and serve outside the walls of this church as a walk group.
Yeah, I think of a story of doing some building construction stuff too. I think I've heard recently, but there's all kinds of opportunities to plug into the church walk group, and so that's huge. I appreciate you sharing that too.
Yeah,
that might actually get some people more interested in it. That might be a little bit more apprehensive about the Bible study part.
Yeah.
If you're newer to your faith, you're like, I don't know everything about the Bible. I might not fit in, but hey, I know how to swing a hammer. I know how to serve and love on people. So that's
Right.
great. This one might be a little bit trickier, but to think about, how have you seen community groups make a positive impact just in the lives of their members? What stories come to mind with that?
Yeah. So I just know that simply being together, giving somebody a place to belong, that makes a big impact on people. And so especially like if you're single and you have a group to be a part of, that means the world.
And how much of a difference does it make when you come to church? We know Sundays can be really overwhelming. It's a lot of people, but you have those familiar faces.
Yeah, and they know your name.
Right.
And they ask you how you're doing, and
Right.
and you have people to pray for you.
Yeah.
And so, I just, you can't box that. You can't really get that in any other means. Like you can get the community, you can get the fellowship other places,
Right.
but with the spiritual element to it, that really only happens in walk groups, I think.
That's the big part, is that Christian community, right? Where you are united in that singular purpose. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this next question is a little bit of a pivot to a little more personal for you, and that's
Okay.
one of the goals of the podcast is to get into God's Word and just share the importance of getting into God's Word on a regular basis. And so I wonder for you if you would be willing to share just how God's been speaking in your life recently and through His Word and what that's looked like.
Yeah. So this is a new role for me, and for 20 years it's been youth ministry. And one of the dangers of doing something for a long time is you can become complacent. So stepping into this new role is got its challenges because I'm not a walk group expert. I don't claim to be one, but I'm reading a lot of books and going to a lot of conferences and trying to figure that out amongst the other areas of my role as community pastor.
Yeah.
On top of that, and so there's a little apprehensiveness there, anxiety of, am I going to do well, and am I going to succeed in this as I did in youth ministry? Can you teach an old dog new tricks, so to speak?
Yeah.
And so recently, and this was in my devotion Monday at our staff meeting, just looking at Jesus preparing his disciples for the impending change that was going to come with him going to the cross and eventually ascending back to heaven. And he was trying to prepare his guys, hey, I'm going to leave. Things are going to change. And
I'm not going to be here forever.
Exactly. And so you get comfortable in those things. Right. And one of the things that I realize is that people aren't resistant to change, but it's the loss that comes with change.
Okay.
Like I think the example I gave was like, hey, if you're gonna double my salary, that's change, and I'm good with that, right?
Right.
But when I feel like I'm losing something, that's when I become resistant. And so you see that with the disciples. They're like, Jesus, where are you going? We don't want to lose you. We want to follow you wherever you're going. And so for me, it's youth ministry. Like that's hard to lose.
Yeah.
But in that, it's in that letting go and chasing after the way I feel God has led me into this community pastor role, and knowing that there are good, capable people to fill that youth ministry void.
That's one thing for me. I think just watching you in this transition is. It's been your baby, and not that, I mean, like, it had to be you running the ministry, but like you had these people that were able to step in. It's got to be a relief and just comfort. And
yeah,
so
absolutely. And then you got to humble yourself and say, this thing isn't built on me. Right. It's not about me, and it shouldn't be about me. And if it falls apart because I'm not there, then I didn't do a very good job of setting others up well for success. So.
Yeah. Well, I love the story you shared because I think about, the disciples and living life with Jesus for 3 years. You're talking 12 to 18 months.
Right.
For this small group of people.
Yeah.
But side note,
you
talk about living with Jesus for 3 years and then him telling them, hey, there's going to be a time. There's going to be a time.
There's going to be a time.
There's going to be a time. And then there was a time.
That time came, right?
where
Yeah.
the rubber met the road. I mean, I guess not back then. It wouldn't have been rubber met the road.
Been
But you know what
dirt,
I mean.
gravel,
Yeah.
something.
But
Yeah.
where the rubber meets the road, and for you just to see that and kind of feel that as you're processing through it. So I appreciate you sharing that and just how
Right.
God is making an impact for you, Chad, with that too.
Mm-hmm.
So before we close out today, just a question: if you have any final thoughts you want to say, whether on the walk group topic or something else.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this is with walk groups. Some people, view that as okay. I'm in church. I'm involved in church. I'm coming to this church now. I want to take it to the next level. But I think walk groups can be the opposite. I think walk groups can be the front door into the church, and maybe somebody who's had a bad experience in the church and been burned before by the church,
Yeah.
and is hesitant to walk to those doors again, might say yes to coming to a walk group, might say yes to authentic community, might say yes to people who are acting like Jesus wants us to act.
And you're getting a small taste.
And you
of
get a
what the
small
church is
taste
like.
of that. You get a small taste of because our walk group should be representative of who we are as a church.
Right.
And so maybe that's the push that gets them back to the doors of the church and into the larger community.
Right. So I want to get plugged into a walk group. A couple things I could do. Right. If Dinner for 8 is rolling, you can sign up for Dinner for 8. You could reach out to you via email and say, hey,
Absolutely.
I'm interested in plugging into a walk group.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then of course, twice a year we're going to open up the walk groups that have room. We're going to do like an open enrollment thing.
Okay.
And then because these Dinner for 8s are 4 months each, we're going to do those twice a year as well.
Okay.
And so that'll hopefully, through one of those modes, gets people plugged into what my prayer is a thriving walk group ministry
It's
here
a
at
great,
Seymour Heights.
It's such a fun sounding strategy to start with Dinner for 8. I mean, everybody has to eat. A lot of people I love to eat.
Yeah.
And so why not gather around the table and do community
Right. And if
together?
you're afraid you're a bad cook, just order pizza or,
There's a couple outs. That's
yeah.
good, right?
Yeah. You don't have to be a chef, or you got a fire pit. We're going to roast some hot dogs and make some s'mores.
It
all works.
It's about community and doing life together.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate it, sir. As we wrap up today, if you're looking for Christian community, we would encourage you to do just that. Reach out to Chad, sign up for our Dinner for 8 walk groups as those kick off. I also hope that you've been encouraged today with the importance to not only connect with God, but also with other people, with other believers. And remember, it can start with little moments where we can practice our faith and grow in our relationship with the Lord every day. We look forward to seeing you at church soon, and we'll catch you next time.